Okay, in this video we're going to talk about the different regions that we can define, or zones we can define as in the short-run average supply curve. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw our familiar by now long-run average supply, short-run average supply. So we have our price level, like GDP deflator, and we have our real GDP over here, so real production. And then again, remember, we got our, put it a little further, we got our long-run average supply, and then we have our short-run average supply. Now, I'll draw the short-run average supply in just a second. Remember over here, this one is our potential GDP. And then somewhere above potential GDP, we have like an absolute max. So if you went crazy and everyone worked all the time and we didn't maintain our machines in the short run, we could produce more than our potential GDP, but we probably couldn't keep this up for very long before we see something that will adjust us back to this potential. And that's sort of what we're going to talk about over the next few classes. So then our short run average supply is probably going to look a lot like this. We know already it's upward sloping from the last video, but it's probably going to look like this. It's going to be kind of flat, and then it's going to get steeper, and then as it gets close to the maximum, it's going to get really steep. Okay, so this is our short run average supply idea. And so we can define then it as having kind of two regions. So this region over here somewhere, we can call this part to be like Keynesian. And so what's the deal with the Keynesian? Well, when we're at the Keynesian region, we have lots of unused resources, And we also have, like when I say unused resources, I'm talking like labor and capital. So we have high unemployment and we have lots of vacancies. So at this part, it should be easy to increase output because you all have all this unused stuff without inflationary pressure. Okay, without having much inflationary pressure, you got tons of workers out of jobs and lots of space available to rent, etc. So there shouldn't be a whole lot of pressure on these prices. You should be able to increase your production without seeing really big increases in the price level. All right, so let's define another region. This other region over here, let's say when we go above our potential GDP, we can call this the kind of neoclassical. So at this point, we're using all resources. In fact, we're even overusing them. So we're using all resources at a high rate, right? We have low unemployment. We got a low unemployment. We also probably have a very low vacancy rate for renting commercial property. Okay, so now if you want to increase your production, well, there's nowhere to go find workers. You're already using all your existing resources at a high level. Everyone else is trying to acquire more resources too. So there's going to be inflationary pressure. So there's more inflationary pressure, and that's why maybe not just more. There's a lot. There's a lot of inflationary pressure, and that's the very steep portion of the line. It means, well, if we're going to increase our output a little bit, we're going to get a big increase in the price level, right? And it's only going to be temporary, as we'll see later. So when we get to this neoclassical zone, then we basically need an increase in our potential GDP to produce more. So in order to produce more, it's not enough just to keep pumping along this. Eventually, it will just lead to inflation. But we need our potential GDP to increase, and then we would be able to produce more. So we'll go through some scenarios. In the next video, we're going to look at the shifts of the short-run average supply, and then in the future videos, we'll go through some scenarios and look at what happens when the economy is operating in these two different zones. And sometimes people call the zone in between them the intermediate zone, where it's not clearly Keynesian, but it's also not clearly neoclassical.